So I love Axel and Strive so far. I think he's super, super fun. I think he's really good. I'm not an expert in the game. I'm definitely still just learning it, but so far I think that he definitely seems good. And he has a lot of stuff that I like about zoners. I'm a grappler and a zoner player. This character combines those two, and his style of zoning is the kind of like active, engaged style of zoning that I really, really like. It's not just staying away and throwing projectiles. Like you're active, you're pressing buttons, you're pressing normals, you're canceling, you're moving around, and that for me is really, really fun. I love the regular zoner stuff about him, so he's got these great button angles. Better than most zoners in most games, to be honest. Everything from way down here, which is a low, way down here, which is a low as well, to slightly higher than that, to a little bit more of an angle than that, to even more of an angle than that. And so he's got all these like different ranges of containing that, again, most zoners, it's very commonly the case in other games that like a zoner will be really good at like one thing and really strong at a particular range, but like maybe bad anti-air there or bad ground stuff there or whatever it is. And this dude has this whole range of stuff. I mean, even further, obviously this, and even after that, he has the thing that can go above, and even after that, he has the thing that's here, kind of a mid-rangey counter option. He's got so much stuff going on, and a bunch of different angles that's really, really fun for me. He has great pushback options, so sometimes it's the case that if a zoner gets into a certain spot, they're in big time trouble because they don't have very good ways to push the opponent back. Not really true for Axel, who has good ways to push the opponent back. This is minus, to be clear. Many characters can punish it, but also many characters have trouble punishing it, especially if they don't have any meter. And even if you don't want to do that, oh, let's do, right? Even if you don't want to do the up one, right, like this, you can do to push them out really far, and that's really, really nice to have. That's a great option to have. Same, right? Like it pushes out pretty far, and so he's got these really, really good ways to push the opponent backwards to a more comfortable spot for him. But in addition to that, again, and a lot of zoners don't have this, he has these mid-range options that are legit, right? This is a really, really good mid-range option. You know, somebody's trying to approach, really good mid-range option. That is really, really nice at that range, right? Let's see. That as well, if you think the opponent's going to try to jump, that's kind of a preemptive anti-air. Versus tall characters, it connects as well. That's really nice. I also want to shout out 6H. I think 6H is actually really nice. Now, it's unsafe if you do it point blank. You can just straight up get punished. Most of the time it's not punishable, but it's like also not your turn. However, there's this range that's at like maximum range where even if it's not technically your turn, you play a spacing trap game. You play this game where it's kind of unclear whether the opponent wants to press buttons at this particular range, right? Because this is outside of most characters' like fast attack ranges. And that's cool. So this is a range that I've been in many times. I've been in this range as Dalsum, as Honda, as Robocop, you know, all the other kind of characters that I've played. And this is a range where, say that I'm minus, fine, then the opponent wants to press a button, well, they're probably gonna whiff. So in that case, I'll whiff punish them with something that's a little bit slower that will catch them a little bit later than they expect. So the fact, in a weird way, that I'm minus actually gives me an opportunity. So you might think, okay, well, what if they just press a longer, slower button? Cool, well then I can interrupt with my own. Or whatever, then I backdash, which is fine as well. It's invincible in this game, totally cool. So what's cool about this as well is that it covers people who are jumping. Again, really, really common for zoners not to even have a button like this, but to have something that covers the sky as well, really good, really good. So he's got just like classic zoner stuff that I think is really strong and that I appreciate a lot because many others don't have it. But even on top of the typical zoner stuff, I think that he's got things that are really, really fun for somebody like me who, again, I'm coming at this as somebody who plays zoners, but also grapplers, and it's rare to have a combination of the two. There's only a few characters that are like that. Chrome Dome, Conra, it's really rare. There's a few others, but it's really rare. So I like that he has that. And the fact that he has command grab mix-ups from far, like in his wheelhouse, super cool, right? The command grab, the further away you are from him, the faster it effectively starts up because it actually travels. So you have this incentive to play this command grab game from really far, where it's safe usually, as well. You can cancel into it, you know? So you're playing tick throw games from really, really far. And, you know, the fact that you have this as well to cover yourself, which is more often going to be your go-to, means that you have like a credible mix-up-ish. You at least have a credible sort of thing to make the opponent consider that it is probably not the command grab, so that when it is, they get got. That's really fun to have. And this works as well from an anti-air perspective. So let's do... Now they're set to jump out of it, right? But you can play this same mix-up game from here. And that's great. That's super cool to have as an anti-air option. Anti-air tick grab from 2/3, 3/4 screen, really, really rare. Another thing that I really like about him is the hunt for big damage, because big damage exists as Axel. Many other zoners are not like this in many other games. Most zoners in other games are, you know, their damage comes over time, and it's rare that they get like big blow-ups. Oh, let's see. Oh no. So you can have this hunt for big damage with Axel, and that's fun. It's a rarity. It's not super common to get if you're not already in the corner. There are situations where you can get big damage off of RCs or as an anti-air into stuff. That's really cool. But again, that doesn't even exist for many zoners that hunt for big damage. I like that a lot. As far as, again, this is kind of general overview stuff. As far as how he interacts with the game engine, I really, really like the risk gauge for this character. I think this is so cool that he gets to use the risk gauge as strongly as he does. He is great at building this, even just with punch, even just with 2P, 2 heavy slash. Rensen adds it. He's constantly mounting that risk. And of course, you get more damage if the risk gauge is higher, all the way up to getting a big counter hit into big stuff if it's too full. So he has this incentive to press buttons, okay? Because you want the opponent to block, because that's gonna mean that when you do get a hit, it will actually be more damage. In many cases, in many other games, zoners kind of have to view pressing a button as a potential loss, okay? So say that this particular range I'm at right now is exactly where I want to be. This is the sweet spot. I never want to move from here if I can help it. Well, I'm in control, but also if I do anything, I'm not in control, right? Because pushback happens. Now the opponent's outside of the range that I want them to be at. Pushback, oh no, now they're even farther outside of the range that I want them to be at. So in a way, pressing a button has this downside. The upsides, obviously, control, damage, yada yada, but potential downside of the way that pushback interacts. And so what you see in some games, again for some characters, is that zoners are not super active because it's more about like the implied threat of having control at a range where maybe you can anti-air if they jump, maybe you can react if they try to dash or run in or whatever it may be in the game. But like you're not actually being super active all the time. Actually, you're active because there is a benefit. There's a really nice benefit to having the opponent block of the way that the risk gauge works. I like that. I think that that's well designed. That means that I'm incentivized to be pressing buttons, to be doing stuff, to be active, to go into the air myself, to be running around, you know, finding the right spots, and that's really fun. That's really fun. So I really appreciate that as well. I really like how the RC system works for him. It's not so much about finding big damage as it is finding escapes. So if you if the opponent does an attack on you, you block it, you can Roman cancel, you get a yellow Roman cancel or YRC. And that means that now you're a plus right away. And they're in this range where it's, you know, it's kind of here-ish. Well, that's that same range where then you have access to this good pushback. Or if you wanna, you know, push back in that way. I guess it really depends on the matchup, right? You can immediately push away. But also you can create a mix-up if you'd like to, right? Of course. It's just that you have access really quickly to getting back to a safer spot again. And since some of his normals don't really have hurt boxes in them, at least in certain ranges, you can sometimes do this safely without even worrying like there's going to be a Dragon Punch or something like that. I like that. You know, YRC, if you hit with it, it's absolutely your turn. They're stuck for a little bit. You could push out, go back to the game that you like. I also really like RCs. I like blue RCs with him a lot. So this is blue RC. If the opponent gets got by that, that means that they have more block stun and more hit stun. And what that means is that you get bigger combos. It's easier for you to whiff punish things, because it's not just hit stun, I should say. It's really just that they're slowed down in general for everything. So their buttons last longer. You can whiff punish more easily. That's really helpful for him as well, I think. So even aside from combos, I think there's a lot of utility for him in this. I think that the RC system has a lot to say for him. So he reminds me of some of my favorite zoners. One of my favorite zoners has come to be Street Fighter V Dhalsim. There were times of that game's life when I would not have said that at all. But over the last couple of years, I do think that he's super fun and good. The reason that Axel reminds me of SF5 Dhalsim, I'm sure, is actually because what's going on. SF5 Dhalsim reminds me of Axel because, of course, Washige is a top Guilty Gear player and also one of the battle designers on Street Fighter V, so like undoubtedly he had some impact in why I feel that there's some relationship here. In SF5 season sort of like 4 and 5 Dhalsim, you're very active because you're not getting Risk, but you're getting Gray Life. You're getting Gray Life a lot, and so you're incentivized to press buttons because ultimately when you do find the hit, it's going to effectively be more damage, just in the same way that Risk works. As Dhalsim, you have something that helps reset this positioning for you. Kind of imagine this being Drill, right? Drill at a safe range for Dhalsim. Imagine some of the anti-air options. This and this are basically Dhalsim down strong or in back strong, right? There's a lot of similar ranges. This is basically Dhalsim roundhouse. This is basically Dhalsim stand fierce. There's like a lot of very obvious similarities. And Dhalsim in the last couple of seasons, he can get big damage too. That character can be doing 40% life, honestly, in the right situation. And again, it's not going to come up very often. It doesn't come up very often. But sometimes. And same thing for Axel. That hunt for big damage is there, which is fun to do. It's fun to hunt for that. So I do see a lot of similarities between Axel and SF5 Dhalsim that I really appreciate. So I'm having a blast with Axel so far. I think the character's super fun. I'm going to keep playing him. Again, I don't have a great position on how good he is just because I'm relatively new to the game and I'm still figuring stuff out. But I will say that so far, he seems really good to me. He seems like a really good character to me who has a lot to say in all the matchups that I've tried so far. I haven't felt out of it in any matchup. I've lost plenty of times. But as far as the characters go, as far as the character options go, I don't feel like I'm out of it, right? It's just more of a question of, am I ready for it? Do I have the game plan as a human? That's the question, rather than is my character up to the task. Character definitely seems up to the task.